Well, kids, before we go through the discussion proper, I have prepared an activities that you need to participate. So this activity entitled "Fill in the Blank." So you will just guess or predict what is the hidden meaning and just complete the word. So I will be giving you a word that describes the word that you are going to guess. So first for that is competence, necessary medium, educational content, knowledge, area. So what do you think is that word? That's correct. That is content. Next word is foundation, bedrock, cornerstone, instruction. So what do you think the word is? That's correct. It is base. Lastly, it describes as order, directive, mandate, command, dictate, commandment. What do you think the word is? That's correct. Instruction. Very good. Thank you for your participation. Hi, good day everyone. I am Teacher James and thank you very much for attending this virtual discussion. Today, I am going to talk about the content-based instruction or the CBI. So what is CBI? This is an innovative approach to teaching English language learners. It focuses on using a content-based topic such as literature, science, and history to help students learn English effectively. So CBI emphasizes the use of authentic text, tasks, and create an activity that are relevant to the students' own interests and life experiences. This approach has been shown to be an effective in improving both language proficiency and academic achievement. In this comprehensive overview, we will look at the history of the CBI and its benefits and how it can be implemented in the classroom effectively. We will also explore the research that supports CBI and discuss how it can be used to engage learning environments that help students learn or help students achieve the success of English language in the classroom. And now let's move on to the history of the content-based instruction, CBI. CBI has its roots in the 1970s when educators began to look for alternative to traditional method of teaching English. In 1970s and early 1980s, CBI emerged as an approach that put content at the center of the language instruction. This approach has gained popularity in 1990s as more educators began to recognize the importance of teaching language through a real-world activities and materials. Since then, CBI has continued to evolve and expand. Today, it is one of the most widely used English language teaching method, focusing on developing communicative competence by engaging learners in meaningful content and activities. CBI has been adapted to a variety of contents from classroom instruction to online learning. And it offers many advantages over traditional methods such as increase in student engagement, improve language acquisition, and enhance language accuracy. The evolution of CBI has been shaped by advances in technology and educational research. For example, advances in computer-assisted language learning or CALL have been enabled to teachers to use digital tools to create an authentic context for learning. Additionally, research on the principle of the second language acquisition has helped teachers to be better understand how learners acquire language and how to create an effective instruction. Next is the benefits of content-based instruction. CBI has become an increasingly popular method of teaching in English as a second language. This method is based on the idea that language learning is best achieved by integrating language instruction into meaningful context, such as topics related to science, social studies, and other subjects. CBI uses content-based materials such as text, videos, articles, and other resources to provide students with meaningful language instruction. One of the main advantages of CBI in the classroom is that it allows students to learn language while engaging in relevant real-world topics. By connecting the language instruction to meaningful content, students can gain a deeper understanding of the language and how it used in a real-world situation. In addition, CBI encourages active learning and critical thinking. As students work with content-based materials, they are encouraged to ask questions, analyze information, and make connection between language and content. Another benefits of CBI is that it encourages collaboration among students. By working on tasks related to content-based materials, students are able to shape their ideas and perspective. This type of collaboration learning helps to strengthen their relationship with each other while also providing an opportunity for students to practice their speaking and writing skills. Lastly, let's move on to the implementation of the content-based instruction. So classroom can be a challenging due to the unique approach to teaching. However, when properly implemented, it can lead to a greater student engagement and improved learning outcomes. To ensure that successful implementation of the CBI, there are several ways on how we can effectively implement. First for that is create a clear objectives. So it is important to create a clear and measurable objectives for the CBI lesson or unit. So this will ensure that the students understand what they are expected to learn and will be able to will enable the instructor to measure the effectiveness of the CBI approach. The third way to effectively implement CBI, your CBI should encourage students' participation. This is to ensure that students are actively engaged in the lesson. It is important to encourage students' participation by allowing them to ask questions and providing them with opportunities to practice using English in meaningful ways. And lastly is provide opportunities for assessment. Assessing your students' performance during CBI lesson will provide an understanding of how will they have understood the materials and can help identify the areas that need further work. Such assessment should be conducted in a way that encourages students' participation and allow the constructive feedback. So content-based instruction is an important and modern method of teaching English as it offers many advantages over traditional method. CBI allow teachers to structure their lesson and materials based on learners' needs of interest while encouraging them to engage in meaningful language use. Despite in many benefits, CBI can also be challenging to implement as it requires careful planning of organization. Successful implementation of CBI requires the teachers to have a good understanding of the principles of CBI and have an awareness of the challenges that they may face.
Good day, I'm Cindy Kimki. So today I'm going to discuss what is really content-based instruction and how we can apply them in language teaching. So content-based approach or content-based instruction as defined by Snow 2014 is an umbrella term for a multifaceted approach to SFL, second foreign language. Teaching that differs in terms of factors such as educational setting, program objectives, and target population, but shares a common point of departure. The integration of language teaching aims with the content instruction. This approach suggested that this language as a vehicle for learning. In addition, CPI is also based on the teaching of academic subject content to a group of students who are still learning the language. In this way, academic subject content and a new language are taught at the same time. What is the meaning of content in CBI? In this presentation on the implementation of content-based instruction in classroom setting, McVeigh emphasized that content is any subject matter or topic that focuses on certain meaning with a given content instruction. Thus, the focus is placed on the subject matter rather than the language itself. CBI can be done with anything that interests the students. What we need to remember is if the main purpose of a lesson is not to teach students about a specific linguistic feature or to have students complete an activity in order to internalize a set of vocabulary or a grammatical pattern. Just like in our example scenario is like a content-based lesson. Here also are the key concepts in content-based approach. Language is text and discourse based. So content-based instruction sees language as the vehicle for learning and centers in linguistic entities that account for how longer stretches of language are used and the linguistic features that create coherence and cohesion with speech events and text types. Second, we have language use draws on integrated skills. So in the content-based class, students are actively involved in activities that link the skills such as knowledge, language, and thinking skills, provide coherence and continuity across skills areas, and focus on the use of language in connected discourse. Third, language is purposeful. Language used for a various purpose, it gives direction, shape, and meaning to discourse and text. When learners focus on the purpose of the language, they become engaged in the process. In order to make content comprehensible to learners, teachers need to make the same kinds of adjustment and simplification that native speakers make in communicating with second language learners. So that's all for my part. Now let's proceed to the next reporter.
Let's move on to the two major principles of CBI. So the first major principle of CBI is people learn a second language more successfully when they use the language as a means of acquiring information rather than as an end in itself. This means that language learning is most effective when learners use the language in real life context. Instead of just focusing on the language as a subject to study, learners should use it to access information, knowledge, such as reading articles, watching videos, or having conversation. This approach makes the language practical and functional, helping learners retain what they learn because they are engaging with meaningful content. So the second major principle in CBI is CBI better reflects learners' needs for learning a second language. CBI or content-based instruction focuses on teaching a language through the content of other subjects, such as science, history, and math. This approach aligns better with the real needs of learners because it integrates learning with subject matter that is interesting or relevant to them. By doing so, learners not only improve their language skills but also gain knowledge in other areas, making the process of language acquisition more engaging, and applicable to their daily lives. On to the models of CBI or content-based instruction. So now let's move to the first CBI model, which is the theme-based model. Theme-based model of language learning focuses on organizing lessons around specific topics or themes. In this approach, teacher chose a central theme such as animals, seasons, or cultural events, and design lessons and activity that revolves around the theme. These lessons integrate various language skills like reading, writing, speaking, and listening, all tied up to the selected themes. Students can also have input in suggesting themes like interest them, making learnings more personalized and engaging. By catering instruction around the themes, the learning process remains relevant and connected to the students' lives, which helps maintain their interests. Themes can be also adapted for different age groups and proficiency levels, ensuring that the content remains appropriate and motivating for all learners. So the second model of CBI is sheltered model. Sheltered model focuses on helping students understand subject content rather than just teaching them a specific language skills. Instead of separate language training in speaking, listening, writing, and reading, this approach integrates language learning directly into the subject matter. The goal is to help students acquire knowledge in content areas such as science, history, and while simultaneously improving their language skills. Teachers play a crucial role in this model by adjusting their teaching materials to suit the proficiency level of their students. They provide context appropriate and relevant materials to ensure that students can grasp the subject and improve their language abilities. The instruction is often scaffolded, meaning the teacher is offer support that helps learners succeed while gradually removing them as students become more capable. This approach ensures that students are not just learning language in isolation but in meaningful contexts, making the learning process make or more effectively and aligned with the real world application. So the last model of CBI is adjunct model. Adjunct model is a method where language learning is combined with a content instruction. In this approach, students are enrolled in both a language course and a subject matter course, such as science, history, or social studies. At the same time, the language course support that content course by helping students develop the specific language skills they need to succeed in their subject classes. Two courses are coordinated, meaning that language teacher and the language content teacher work together to ensure that language instruction align with the materials being taught in the subject class. For example, if the students are learning about biology, in their content course, the language class will focus on vocabulary, reading, and writing skills related to biology. There, this, met, this model allows students to apply their language skills in practical contexts, making the learning more relevant and effective. This model is particularly helpful for learners who need language support while they are also studying other subjects, as it provides an integrated learning experience.
How can we use this approach? First, find source materials. The first step is to gather relevant materials that align with the subject matter. This can include textbook, articles, videos, or any other resources that will be used to teach the content. The second one is establish content objectives. This refers to the specific goals related to the subject matter that students are expected to achieve by the end of the lesson. For example, in a science class, a content objective might be for students to understand the parts of a plant. Next is establish language objectives. These are the goals for language development, focusing on how students will use language to express ideas related to the content. This could involve vocabulary, sentence structures, or conversation skills that are necessary for discussing the topic. Next is adapt text as needed. Teachers adjust or simplify materials to match the student's level. This way, students can understand the content even if the language is difficult. Next is determine key vocabulary. Teachers choose keywords that students need to know to understand the lesson. These words are taught clearly and used throughout the lesson. Next is develop tasks to help students understand the content. Teachers design activities that help students understand both the content and the language. This could include group work, role plays, or discussion. And the last one is assess students' learning. Teachers check if students understand both the content and language goals by using tests, quizzes, or group projects. So now let's talk about rules of teachers and students. First, rule of teacher. Teachers construct frameworks of interactive practices significant to learning and provide models of competent participation, uses of appropriate discursive structures, and other linguistic resources associated with the practices. This is according to Whole 1995. This means teachers create lessons where students get to interact and participate actively. Like for example, a teacher might set up a group discussion where students talk about the topic, helping them practice language while learning new ideas. The teachers guide the conversation and shows how to speak and listen respectfully. The next one is create a student-centered classroom environment. The teaching styles and strategies are based on a proficiency level of students and scope of their interests. According to Dornier, 2001, students will not be motivated to learn unless they regard the material they are taught as worth learning. Teachers focus on students' needs, interests, and skill levels. They adapt their teachings to fit what the students are interested in and how well they understand the language. Like for example, if the students are beginners in English and they love sports, the teacher might teach vocabulary related to sports like goal, team, and coach. This makes the lesson more engaging for them. According to Dornier, 2001 said that students will only learn if they think the material is important or interesting. So, teachers should pick topics that matter to the students. The next one is teachers must also be knowledgeable, both in the subject matter and the language, and must ensure that she can elicit the knowledge towards her learners. Teachers need to know both the subject and the language they are teaching. So this way, they can explain things clearly and help students understand better. Like for example, if a teacher is teaching science, they should know both the science facts and how to explain them in simple language that students can understand. They should be ready to answer a question and break down complex ideas. The next one is able to keep context and comprehensibility. Focus on the subject matter, provide meaningful and interacting materials that would help learners to acquire information and at the same time develop their language skills. So this means teachers need to focus on making sure that students understand both the subject and the language being used. They provide materials and activities that are easy to understand but still interesting and challenging. Like for example, a teacher might use pictures, videos, or simple text to explain a new topic. This helps students grasp the topic while learning new words and sentence structures. And the next one, teachers must be able to select and adopt authentic material. Select and adopt authentic material that can be used effectively in the lessons in the classroom setting. Teachers should find real-world materials like articles, videos, or podcasts and adopt them for classroom use. The content should be both interesting and easy enough for students to understand. Like for example, a teacher might take a news article about a recent event and simplify the language so students can understand it while learning new words. They might also add pictures or videos to make it clearer. So now let's discuss the rules of the students. First is autonomous. Learners are expected to make use of what they have learned in the future. As the learners gather information, they can also re-evaluate the information and restructure it. So, means that students are expected to take responsibility for their learning and use what they have learned in the future. They should think about what they learn, decide what's important, and find ways to apply it. Like for example, after learning about healthy eating in class, a student might decide to change their diet and choose healthier foods. So they take the information and apply it to their real life, showing independence. Next one is main sources of the content. Content-based instruction depends greatly on the participation and the scope of interest of the learners. In content-based instruction, students' interest and participation are very important. The lesson often focuses on topics that the students find interesting, and they help shape the lesson by actively participating. Like for example, if students are interested in technology, the teacher might choose to focus a lesson about technology, like the smartphones or any types that related to technology, so that the students ask questions, share their ideas, and learn language skills through this relevant content. So next one is collaborative learners. Learners are expected to engage themselves in different activities and assessment. An example of this engagement is doing group work, which helps integrate language and social skills among other learners. So this means students are expected to work together in different activities and assessment. Collaboration helps them learn not just the subject but also social and language skills. Like for example, in group work, students might work together to solve the problem or to complete the project. So the last one is actively involved. Being actively involved and taking responsibility in a classroom environment appears to be motivating for some, though rather overwhelming to others. So means students should be fully engaged in the learning process. This means participating in discussion, asking questions, and being responsible for their learning. Some students find this motivating, while others might feel challenged by it. Like for example, during a class debate, students take turns sharing their opinions and responding to others. So this helps them practice their language skills and build confidence in speaking. Even though it might be difficult for shy students, but being involved helps them grow. So I think that wraps up our discussion on the content-based approach. I hope you found our report informative and that you gained some valuable insight. Thank you for your attention and participation.